with recording and mixing out of the way, let's have a look at editing so that you sound like you, but on a really good day. So, as we've already covered, properly produced podcast episodes are, say it with me, recorded to storage, mixed so that everyone's voices are level, and then edited to remove boring bits or mistakes. So there's a number of editing options that we have available to us. We can use episode assemblers. We can use digital audio workstations, text-based editors, or just hand it off to an editor. So what do I mean by an episode assembler? Well, you've got Alito and Anchor are two of the prominent ones. They are sort of block-based editors where you assemble pieces of your episode together. So Alito also provides some basic editing and leveling for you as well, so that you can throw a bunch of audio into it. It will try and make it sound its best, and then you can combine music and have little overlapping segments and stuff. It's a little bit like editing with boxing gloves on, though. You can't get any kind of precision. It's not meant for that. And it kind of signals to your listener that your time as the podcaster is more important than theirs as the listener, and that is not when we talk about the if you like, the Podcode way, which is about building trust. It's not the cornerstone of that relationship because it creates this imbalance that says, listen, it's more important that I get this out than it is for you to actually have more of an enjoyable experience, because you can hear the difference. The transitions are clumsy, they're overlong, there's often music that doesn't match, doesn't quite fit, and it will suddenly, stop, and then you've just got periods of clumsy, awkward silence, and then your audio comes in, and it's not been treated properly, so it sounds like you're in a phone booth, and it's not great. They're super easy to use, but the result is something that sounds like it was easy to produce. That doesn't mean that this has to be hard. I want to signal that to you, right now. We are going to talk about digital audio workstations and text-based editors and all the other options. It doesn't mean that this has to be hard. It just means that we want to keep that balance so that the listener understands that their time is valuable too, and we're reflecting that. So, text-based editors then. You've got apps like Descript and, to some extent, Otter.ai as well, and there are other contenders that are trying to vie for this market as well, since Descript has sort of come along and opened it up. The way they work is effectively like a word processor. So you take your audio file and you throw it into this application, and it transcribes the audio for you. There's a number of languages that it supports at various levels of accuracy, and it's a robot that's doing its best to transcribe, and they will bill around 90-ish% accuracy. And I will be honest and tell you, it has got a lot better. It is actually pretty good. But what you are then doing is you are editing the audio as if you are editing. You're editing the text by editing the audio, or the other way around. It's a relatively new concept. This has only been around for the last couple of years, so there are potential caveats here. These apps can be a little bit buggy or finicky or pushnickety. They can not necessarily. They are fairly easy to use, but they are opinionated, if you like. There is no tablet editing options as of yet. This is very much at a computer, be it a desktop or a laptop. It's quite keyboard heavy, the process. It's less about mouse clicking. It's a little bit more about, because again, it's just like editing a document you're deleting. You can copy and paste, and you can move swathes of text around that way. And that is actually how you do all your editing. Then you can implement music and stuff, and that feels a little bit more like a traditional editor, but it's nowhere near as cumbersome and difficult to understand. You can visually actually see the words that you're working with. Now, of course, we have the Descript editing course in Podcode Plus, which goes through the entire process. It's basically a ride-along. It's basically a way of you sitting on my shoulder, or over my shoulder, to look at the process of how I go about editing episodes for clients, and of my own shows as well. So that's text-based editors. The more traditional editors are these digital audio workstations, or DAWs, if you will. With these, each piece of audio is on its own track. So if you have 3 people speaking, you will hopefully have 3 different WAV files that you will then throw into the audio editor, and you will see those represented in a linear fashion like swimming lanes of 3 individual tracks that you can then do things with. Audacity is the most popular free option. Because it's free, it's not easy software to use to do anything more than basic edits. That's why I don't teach it as software, because frankly, your time is more important and life's too short to learn Audacity for multi-track editing. GarageBand is free and easy to use on a Mac. It's a great option. It's already installed or easily downloadable from the App Store on your Mac. You can also have a play on the iPad as well. Again, it's a little bit like editing with boxing gloves on, but nowhere near the process, nowhere near as sort of clumsy as something like Alito. And I've got, by the way, I've no beef against Alito. It's just, it's not, for grown-ups who want to make really great sounding stuff. Adobe Audition is another option for you. It's available for Mac or PC. It does come with a fairly hefty subscription cost, though. If you are already in the Adobe Creative Suite ecosystem, then it's a no-brainer. Just use it because it's great. It used to be called Cool Edit Pro before Adobe bought it in the early 2000s, and it is the software I have used the most. Prior to transitioning to Descript, I used Apple's Logic, which is perfectly good software, and I've made some rather good podcasts with it. But Adobe Audition is what I used for nearly 2 decades prior to that. So it's software that I know well, and I do I rather stand for it, but it does come with a hefty subscription fee, and you can't just buy it outright. Hindenburg, on the other hand, is a bit more of a newcomer as digital audio workstations go. Unlike some of these other ones, like all of the above, Hindenburg is meant for, it has podcasters in mind, so it has workflows. In some respects, it will actually help you with the publishing process and go directly to a hosting company. So you can actually go directly from Hindenburg into compatible media hosts without you having to separately download the file and then upload it again, which is quite nice. You can pay for it perpetually, or you can just buy it outright for $300, which is quite pricey. I will say that because I think Logic is about the same, and Logic is far more full-featured. Now, of course, if all of this just seems like way too much to think about, you can hand this off to an editor, and they can take care of this for you. In that scenario, you would record the audio yourself using your chosen platform. Let's say it's you and a guest, or you and a co-host. You would do that on Squadcast or Riverside, and then you would send those files to an editor. They will then give you back a podcast-ready MP3 file. Now, a producer, which may be the same person, often is, as a podcast editor, they can write titles and show notes for you to go along with your episode, and they can upload it to your media host. That is how I made my bones for a long time. I would do all of this. I would do the editing, and I would also do the title and the show notes and that kind of stuff as well for them. No, they can also handle some social media stuff. One of the reasons that I do less of this now is because it doesn't give me the opportunity to work with people on an ongoing basis to help them make better shows. All I can really do is take the thing that they've made and then, like a piece of topiary, sort of cut away the bits that we don't need. I like to work with people on a more fundamental level so that we can actually make something better together. And you're not going to get that if you hand off to an editor. They are going to take what you've got, and they will do varying degrees of things to it. Some will just take exactly what you've been given and won't, or what they've been given, and won't think too much about if someone said something that they might want to cut. They're going to leave it in unless you tell them otherwise, because that's not what they're thinking about. They are making sure if I know something is a mistake, if I know there was a fluff there or a noise, I will remove that and it will sound great. But if someone says something that maybe they might regret, an editor is probably not going to have that conversation with you unless you have it with them and say, at this point here, someone said something, we need to remove it. A producer, on the other hand, and some of this terminology is a little bit flaky, and we're still waiting for some of the terminology to settle down, really. But a more, if you like, full-fledged producer or even a podcast manager might go a little bit deeper into this and listen more closely or intently. So bear those things in mind. It does rescue your time, but of course it adds extra expense. I advise and advocate for finding an editor that gets you, that where you actually feel aligned. Because if we think about what I was just saying about whether someone's maybe said something, whether it's you or a guest has said something that maybe shouldn't go in the edit, if you've built up a relationship with your editor and they kind of know you, I'll give you an example. One of my clients is a bit more self-conscious about the fact that they say, that kind of stuff. And so I know when I'm working on that person's projects to take more care than I would over other people, because I like to preserve the natural flow of conversation. And so a few likes in your nose will slip through, because if I edit them out, it sounds unnatural. Whereas I know with this particular person, I'm always going to edge a little bit, spend a little bit extra time removing those or finessing those edits, because I know that person values that and wants to make sure that they sound as fluent as possible. So those are the kinds of things that you might start to think about, establishing a relationship with an editor that sort of gets your whole thing. And like with anything, right, you get what you pay for. You can absolutely, editing is to a degree a commodity now. You can go to a Filipino outsourcing environment and get someone to competently edit an episode for you so that it sounds okay and all the bits that you don't want in there are removed. But they're not going to do that finesse stuff that we talked about, just because it's just not in the particular business model of how those people work. It's not to do with them specifically. It's that business model is a bit more sort of volume-based. And like I said, an editor might not be able to advise and coach and guide you in a way that a producer or a podcast manager or a podcast coach can. So if that's important to you, think about where you want to spend your money. Do you want to spend... And my particular thing that I tend to advocate is get the audio editing stuff, do that in-house if you can, because it gives you much more ownership over the product in general. And then spend that money that you might have used on an editor and work with a coach. And you're already in the right place for that. You know that you can come and chat to me. You can book a 15-minute session. You can book a longer session with me, and we can do that stuff. So you are absolutely in the right place if that's the kind of thing that you want to do. So, your trailer then. We've got our trailer. We've added a bit of compression to it. If you're happy with that one, you can use that file, or you can use your original file and then upload that to Twisted Wave. Again, link down in the description of the lesson. This is a web-based editor, and what I'm going to ask you to do is just make a couple of tiny little edits. Just cut because of course there will be a moment where you clicked the mouse to hit start on the recording, and then you clicked again to stop it, right? So let's see if you can trim the beginning and the end off that. I'm not going to explain to you how to do it. It's pretty self-explanatory, but there is a video there that walks you through it. So rather than me sort of tell you step by step, you can see what it looks like. Go and have a go and play with that, and export the export that WAV file back out again. So you'll see an option of various different audio file formats. Let's just go with a WAV file, export that back out, save it to your computer, and then when you've done all that, we will look at getting your episode ready and exported out as an MP3 file ready for podcast players.